Welcome to another episode of the Bonsai Escape. Today I'm going to talk about this Shimpaku juniper. We're going to do some trimming on this, clean it up, and discuss more about the art of bonsai. So stay tuned. So the art of bonsai is something that I think appeals to a lot of people. And I had the opportunity this past weekend to display or exhibit one of my specimen trees, my portacalla tree that I think you've seen some work on. You can go look at some videos. I've done some work on that. I got a lot of rave reviews about it. And I had the opportunity to spend the day at the Detroit Zoo with the Ann Arbor Bonsai Society, sharing bonsai with people that came to the zoo. We saw over 600 people, I think, came through the exhibits and did some demos, and I had the opportunity to talk to a lot of people, introducing them to bonsai. They had a lot of questions, a lot of misconceptions about bonsai, and it was interesting because I was working on some of my younger portacalla trees, just demonstrating how to turn these wild bushes into a bonsai or something that was appealing to look at. And a lot of questions came up about how do you decide what the tree is supposed to look like, and that kind of evoked a discussion about really what this whole channel is dedicated to, the escape that bonsai offers us. And what I mean by that is we work in two hemispheres of our brain, and the left side of our brain is the more analytical, data-driven side, where our right side brain is more of the emotional, arty side. And bonsai kind of gives us both of that, with the science of bonsai, or science of horticulture, understanding how to get a tree to grow and become very healthy, and each tree's characteristics in growing. So it does take a lot of understanding about horticulture and the specific needs of a tree. And then there's the artistic side, the right side of the brain, and that's taking a tree like this that's completely overgrown. I'll show you some pictures of what this started like, and deciding what I want to do with it, where it was going to go, what branches to trim. And those were the main questions that people had at this exhibit, was how do you get it to look like that? And it kind of helped me start thinking about, when I work with bonsai, a lot of times I spend most of my time on the left side of the brain, keeping them alive, knowing what their nutrient needs are, their fertilizing needs, their sun needs, their shade needs, and their watering needs. But then when I get a chance to actually work on a tree like this, that really doesn't have a shape to it yet, it hasn't really been a defined shape, now I have to kind of get into that right side brain, and it can be a little bit intimidating because we're afraid we're going to mess things up. And that's the beauty of bonsai, is that it's a living art. So if you do mess something up, there's a chance you can correct that with new branches that come out, if the tree does provide that. But that's kind of the exciting part of the bonsai escape, is that it helps us get out of that left side brain and start working in our right side brain, the artistic side, the creative side, the emotional side. And that's what a lot of the peace that I get from bonsai offers. And I think what a lot of people are looking for is that escape from their 9-to-5 and the stresses of life. And really, when you get working in that emotional right side brain, you go into that parasympathetic nervous response that calms you down. And it's actually very exciting, and it's a very rewarding part of bonsai. To get to that level, you have to go through the steps of understanding a tree, growing a tree, making it healthy. I haven't touched this tree in over 2 years. I've literally just let it grow. And from the start, the picture I showed you, it was just a little tiny guy. Whoops. It was just a little tiny guy that I really didn't know where it was going to go. I didn't know how it was going to take. I did show a video previously of me drilling into this tree and fixing it into the deadwood, which is what Tanuki is, and we can go into a little bit more about that. But after that, I really just wanted it to grow. I wanted it to get healthy. I wanted to establish itself in this pot. And so I spent 2 years taking care of the tree, just letting it grow and tending to its needs. If there was any disease or infestation, I had to battle that and learn how this tree was going to acclimate to the climate in Michigan. Now that I think it's pretty obvious that this tree is very healthy, it's got long shoots that have sprouted out. which just indicates a lot of root growth and a very green plush tree. So now it's time to get in here and give it its initial first styling, kind of decide how I want this tree to look. I've played with a lot of different directions, but when I planted or designed this tree, developed it, I wanted some of the live vein of the Tanuki, which means trickery. I'm trying to illustrate that this tree has a lot of age with this deadwood feature, but the live vein is carved into the groove. You can go back and look at one of my videos about that. But this tree has now started to swell inside that groove, so it's actually becoming part of that deadwood feature, and it's fixed in there very well. I just drilled and set this in here about 2 months ago, and you can see it really didn't harm the tree. It's just as healthy as it was before. And now it's time to get in here and give it its first kind of initial styling. So when I'm thinking of the art now, I have to really switch my brain over and start kind of going through this tree and getting a vision for it. And it's the fun part. For years, as this thing was developing, I've been thinking about what I want to do with it. And now it's time to get in here and start cutting away. I'm going to show you the after thoughts of my right side brain, what it decided to do today for me. But that's really the beauty of bonsai. You get to evoke that right side and left side brain activity, and that's what brings us into a very mindful, peaceful state. It's essential in a lot of hobbies that we choose, especially with bonsai. So stay tuned for the end results. All right, it looks much different than when we started, right? And this being the front view, you can see that when the tree is repotted and I have it stationed right. I've got the majority of this canopy coming over away from the deadwood. Your eyes flow from here up, and then the deadwood features kind of have that highlight on the lower section, and then the live stuff coming up here. What I was able to do in the back, I was able to take this branch, basically the leader of that trunk, it split. I cut one of the branches off. This is still questionable whether I'm going to keep it or not, but I was able to bend the main leader that was coming out this way back toward this side, kind of wedge it in toward the deadwood here, so that now gives me 3 options of branching that's coming out over top, and I'll have some things to do with that. I could always have this developing into a lower canopy and this coming up over top into 2 separate pads, but I've got a long ways to go to let that develop. This is still questionable. The only value in it right now is that it's going to help thicken the trunk where this zip tie is, that I have to get some girth to in that the trunk to screw in. But other than that, this is kind of the first steps in the art of bonsai, what I'm envisioning. You can see the nice curve coming up this way with the deadwood feature going that way, and your eye, the eye is constantly flowing up. You see the live vein coming through it. I don't know if I'm a big fan of this gin, but I can always cut it off. I probably will be cutting it off because this gives you some feature here. But other than that, once this canopy develops, there's a lot of growth still going on. I think we're gonna have a gorgeous tree, but it's a great start right now. If you enjoyed this video and you're excited about the art of bonsai, then subscribe, keep an eye on some new videos I have coming up, and look forward to seeing you guys soon. Take care.